That was quick. I kind of came in last on here.
I got it second.
Geez, that's awesome. The legislature and here in the same day. We got a lot going on, don't we? I wanted to make a couple of comments. Some of them, you know, in the legislature today, it was quite simple to understand that they're appealing for more money. Governments now are broke. They're looking for new ways and creative ways to be able to get money, and they're looking to the federal government, into the federal trough, in order to be able to get that money. Consequently, every time you do that, there's strings attached, and usually there's sovereignty obliterating issues, whether people want to believe that or not. The simple fact of the matter is that with our own state legislature, they're having a hard time trying to fund the people in our own country, much less worrying about people in other countries. And so the idea that we can just sit here and allow people an endless amount of people to be able to come here and throw that on the back of the taxpayer is something that really doesn't seem to be considered. So, you know, the support of the refugees is another thing that's put on the back of the taxpayer. And you know who gets to decide? It isn't the taxpayer. It's the multinational corporations. It's the lobbying groups that fund socialist type welfare programs. And and it was very evident today. The federal government, most people in this room, regardless of what side of the political spectrum you're on, believes that the federal government is overreaching to a variety of degrees. For them having the ability to be able to force feed the states, whether the states want it or not, they're subject to it, or they end up getting their funding withheld. So, you know, so we're now no longer sovereign citizen. Oh God, I better not use that term. Sovereign citizens in a sovereign state, in a sovereign independent nation. We have become subservient to a global supranational governing entity, and the question is, who is that entity? The other part of this is that the forces that are pushing these into the states are open-ended and they're ambiguous. We could end up with 500. We could end up with 14 million. It just depends on who the federal government wants. I mean, that doesn't even make any sense. So the other thing, too, is I was looking through Title 8 USC Chapter 12, and it's very clear through one of the acts in there. I can't remember the name of the act, but something was very prominent to me. In order for this country to maintain its foundational roots, the assimilation's of critical importance. And when you run into an area or you run into a people that no longer assimilate, our moral and our ethic and our political and all of these things are completely obliterated. When we allow people to continue to come into this country without even any bit of assimilation, like according to Title 8, you have to read, write, speak the English language. You have to understand our form of government. You can't be a drunkard. You had to have 2 people to testify to that fact. You had to abolish any other allegiance to any form of dictatorship or political form of government. None of these things are part of any of these provisions that are happening. And so I know that. So ultimately, what's happening, the end game here is much larger than most people realize. We tend to operate in the matters of the heart rather than our mind, where we take our mind and we put it over here, and we put our heart in here, and we think somehow that because we can run through matters of the heart, that everything else will be all right. And with that comes tremendous unintended consequences, namely the fact that multiculturalism is going to divide this nation, erode its foundation, and we're going to end up no different than any other nation. Thanks.
Appreciate that.